love is one of those confusing things, and it's one of those things that nobody really completely understands. You know, for example, you could say that you love a girl, but what happens when, you guys fall out of love? Was the love was it really love, or was it just the infatuation of how you felt, of how that person made you feel? And then let's say you find somebody else. Do you say you love them too? Is love a one-time thing, or does it happen multiple times? I feel like everyone's deserving of love, or they deserve to be loved at least once. Because it's one of those things that could really help you. It's something that it could help you improve. It's something it's something that's important. It's part of being human. There shouldn't be singles. Not just talking about relationships, but everybody should be together in the fact that you love someone. Like a parent loves their children. How people love their significant others. But love isn't always something that's good. It isn't always something that's everybody experiences in a positive way. You could experience it through heartbreak also, or being rejected. Love can also be uncomfortable because you don't understand it. You don't know how to interpret it. For me, I wouldn't say I felt really loved, just in relationships. I have loving parents. I have a good family. But when it comes to loving other people, when finding that one, that girl, maybe there isn't one, but maybe there is. I feel like love is something that people have hope in. It's sort of a hope factor. Because if you meet someone and you really like them, you hope to love them, and what are some feelings that love is connected with? Being comfortable, being happy, or growing together. For me, I wouldn't say I've always had the best experiences with love, but that doesn't mean that you should give up. For it's not really an example, but like this is how just like I'm dealing with love. I see girls all the time, as everybody else does. But what if you don't really like them, or you don't love them? What if it's the idea that you're infatuated with? The idea of them. That's the thing that you're in love with. That's the thing that you like. Because you don't really know them unless you spent so much time with them, unless you've gone through things with them. I feel like people are more in love with the idea of someone, or the feelings that they bring, rather than the actual person. There's a girl. I try to shoot my shot, but it's not. It didn't go good. And I understand that it might not. That it probably won't happen because my chance is already done. But for some reason I get nervous. I still get nervous around her. So I'm also trying to find my way of how to deal with love. Is it love, or you just are you desperate? I don't think I'm desperate. I just feel like it's something everyone experiences in a different way. There is no blueprint for how to love someone. There is no you can only listen so much as to other people how to love someone. Their life isn't yours. You could use the same advice, but would that advice apply to you if you live a different life? You don't know. That's why I feel like that's why you should journey, and go through it by yourself. You can only depend on other people to help you so much. You know, and sometimes it's not always the best experiences. You know, like it's not really a downfall in my life. You know, but you know it's something that you have to accept moving forward. And you know, will you find somebody like her again? You know, maybe not. You have to live with that because, you know, um, it's not so easy to forget for for at least me. I just feel like you know love can also go one ways. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed to bring you happiness or you know make your life better. You know, going back to this girl I've been thinking about, you know, maybe I'm in love with the idea of her, of being with her, you know, not you know, her as a person. Maybe I'm in love with just the way she looks, you know, because she is pretty. Um, you know, we don't talk that much. I'd say we don't talk much at all. Um, you know, and it's not gonna be something I just forget so easily because, you know, I've had this experience with other women before, and you know I still haven't forgotten about them. But you know, going forward, you have to accept that, and you have to accept, you know, that you know you're not going to end. Like your life's not going to end there. There's other chances that you're going to get. So I feel like I'd say I'd say love is, you know, a never ending journey, you know. Sometimes it could go good, you know, sometimes it could go bad. Sometimes, you know, it can only be felt one way. You know, I just feel like you have to go out and find what love is yourself. You know, there is no blueprint for this. There is no, you know, guaranteed possibilities of, you know, love. You know. So yeah, that's basically what I got to say about love. All right, so this is gonna be a continuation of, you know, the love thing. Um, let's say you're with somebody, you know, and you've told them countless times that you love them, you know, and then fast forward a couple of years, you know, you guys are no longer together. You know, but you told the girl you but you told the girl that you loved her. Is love only something that, you know, you feel one time, or is it something that you can feel multiple times? Does it depend on the person? Does it depend on the way you live? You know, if you tell one girl that you love her, and then you tell another girl that you love her, is that really love? You know, is love only supposed to be felt for one person? I don't know. You know, it's just a couple of the thoughts that I've had, and you know, it's just a couple of things that I thought about because, you know, I would think that love is, you know, something that, you know, that you only express with one person, you know. But let's say you know, something happens to the love of your life. Will you find another love of your life, or, you know, is that something that, you know, you don't know? There's just a couple more of my thoughts about love. So yeah.